Hey, I'm McKenna.
And I'm Cass.
And this is Call You in 5.
I'm so excited for today's episode. Both of us have grown our businesses and really our platforms that we have like influence, and a lot of our opportunities have come from social media, but that has come with a ton of pros and a ton of cons.
Yes.
And I feel like you and I have talked about this at length, non-recorded in the past. So I'm kind of excited to like document all of our thoughts in this like season of our lives and where we're at with social media and how our experience with it has grown and where we hope it takes us.
For sure. I felt like we could kind of start about talking about what we used to see in social media and how it kind of started for us. Because I feel like social media was not really around when we were in high school as much.
Totally, yeah.
And then seeing it kind of evolve and where it is today.
Yeah.
You speak how you want, but I feel like in high school, MySpace was out. Am I dating myself? Or I guess that was more like middle school.
Yeah.
And then into high school, it kind of went into Instagram. And I really didn't even do much with it until I was out of high school with Instagram. And it was very much photo driven, not even like necessarily captions yet, but I felt like it kind of evolved into pictures with captions, like very catching captions. And now I feel like it's very much attention grabbing. You've got to get people's attention fast because they don't stick around. You know, it's all like short form video content now.
Yeah,
you know?
It's funny. I remember when I downloaded Instagram, I think it was like the summer of my junior year in high school. I'm not that much younger than you, but I was never on MySpace. That's like a form that I'm like completely unfamiliar with.
So I really dated myself then.
And I don't know. I just remember when I had Instagram, like super heavy filters, right? Like pretty intense contrast, you know? And then into college, I don't know. In college, you're just trying to document like all the stuff you do, the friends you have, the opportunities. And I feel like especially through college, when I started seeing like these influencers started to capitalize on their following to do something with it, right? And I don't know. I think it's been so interesting starting her sorority journeys, Instagram and TikTok, and seeing how that's grown, and even like how using those social media platforms has changed even like the last 3 years, you know? I feel like TikTok's a very different space than it was in 2020 when like we both got into that. And I don't know, we both talk like every couple months about how like over Instagram we are, and this will like get posted and promoted on Instagram, so sorry. You know, like it's just things change, and I think part of that comes from just like a burnout of working in this industry is getting burned by negative repercussions of being on your phone that much.
Yes, and we were just talking about how we feel like TikTok is good in the sense of it being more authentic, and Instagram is almost harder to be authentic on.
Yeah.
But it still is very exhausting, even being like authentic and sharing your life online.
Yeah.
And it's hard to find the balance of that, you know?
And I don't know if you'll feel this way too. Like, even though TikTok's more authentic, and like there's something to be said about like Instagram being a highlight reel, I also find the things that go viral on TikTok tend to be like more negative, you know?
Yeah.
I see so much more like negativity or like harshness or gossip, right? Like people like sharing all this, you know, celebrities drama, but it's also like perfect place to like get updates on what surprise songs like Taylor Swift performed last night, you know?
Yes.
Like, it's like I don't Google what Taylor Swift performed the night before. I go to TikTok and I'm like, okay, she played You're in Love.
That is the new Google. That's where we go for like all of our updates on everything.
Yeah. And so I think it is interesting, right? When you like think about the different platforms and what you use them for, because Instagram really is a highlight reel. And I think I have worked in my personal brand over, I don't know, probably the last 5 years, how to incorporate more authenticity into that. But you also like want to protect yourself. So it can be,
for sure,
it can be a hard balance.
For sure. Especially like having a family and you're not like, I don't want my platform to be about my daughter. Like I want it to be about me, but she is a part of my life. So it's hard to find that balance of how much to share of her and how much to keep private. It's just hard to balance that, you know?
Yeah. I think like where were you going to go next?
Well, I was going to say with TikTok, I feel like although it's more authentic on there, people are expecting things in real time. Like if I post something the day later and I say it's Saturday when I posted on Sunday, people are like, hey, it's Sunday. You know, like people expect it same day and they expect real life updates. Whereas on Instagram, if you post something a week later, I feel like that is like a pro to Instagram. It's not as up to date real time, you know?
That makes sense. Yeah. I think I find that too. And I wonder if that's even like there's like a lower barrier of perfection on TikTok, right? It's just, I don't know, it's harder sometimes to like curate the perfect photo carousel or like get them all edited in VSCO and write the perfect caption than it is to be like, all right, here was my day. Like, here's some things that happened. Or here is me talking for like 15 seconds about this thing. It's just, TikTok's more accessible, I feel.
Yeah. And you can edit right in the platform. You can do everything that you need to do like right in the platform. And I kind of like made notes of like going into setting boundaries and how we do that.
Yeah.
Which is really hard. I still feel like I'm learning how to do that and I'm like experimenting with different things. But I tend to leave my phone at home a lot or I'm really bad at texting people back, which is I'm not like proud of. But also the last thing I want to do when I'm not working is be on my phone. I take a long time to get back to people.
Yeah. Well, it's like when you have, and you've even expressed to me too, it's like really important for you as raising a little one to not have all of like Leela's first memories be with you with a phone in your hand, right? Or glued to it. And it's funny, like even seeing her, she likes the things that you like, right? And I see that with kids all the time. It's like if their parents are on their phones all the time, they want to be. But I even think so there's like that whole element of modeling people in your life. But I even feel like for myself, so much of my joy, I feel like it's stripped when I'm just consumed by content. Because when you're a content creator in any capacity, I feel like so often you feel you have to be staying
consuming.
up to, you have to be consuming.
Yeah.
I feel like a shell of myself when that's what I do.
And I also feel like I create better content when I'm not consuming, you know, like, cause then it's more authentic. It's more me. I'm making the content that I want to make, not the stuff that's trending that I feel like other people are expecting.
Yeah.
So I almost feel like I do better when I'm not consuming, but it's hard not to consume because you want to stay up to date on the trends.
Yeah.
You know?
Totally.
There's like a big balance between both.
Yeah, some of the boundaries, I put together like a daily schedule for myself around social media that blocks my mornings and my evenings being on my phone at all. I love being in prayer and journaling in the morning. And so I make my coffee and I like find my I travel way too much. So I find whatever peaceful place in my daily or weekly accommodations, hunker down and like have that time without my phone, because I know as soon as I reach for my phone to like respond to a text message or something, I'm like already on TikTok.
Automatically.
And I'm already checking notifications on Instagram. And I mean, that's another boundary I have too. I have no push notifications from any social media platform. So my phone doesn't come up with those, but I feel like we've just become trained to check for them when you're posting and creating as much as we are.
Tell me what your thoughts are on this. So I've been playing around with some ideas of how I can have a better like work-life balance, because I am doing TikTok full-time now. That is like what I'm doing. And so it's really hard to have a work-life balance when you're filming your life and doing the things you do, and people want to see everything that you're doing. But the way I've thought about keeping things more private or like better work-life balance is, one, leaving my phone at home, like I said, but two, I've been thinking about deleting the apps every Friday night and then re-downloading them, re-logging in on Monday morning. So I've been playing around with that idea. I haven't done it yet because of drafts. You know, I have to figure out the draft situation and stuff. But I've also been playing around with the idea of getting a second phone. Just a second phone for filming. I wouldn't need cell service on it because I would only do it when I'm on Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
So I've been playing around with those ideas. I haven't successfully done either one of them yet because I've just been brainstorming this week. But what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's so interesting. Yeah, I feel like because the way we utilize social media is so different, I don't know if either of those I would be able to apply in my life. But I love the idea of like being really cognizant of like, okay, what are the other ways that I could go about this? I think deleting apps, you hear like, or I feel like it used to be a bigger thing when people would announce their social media fast, right? There would be like a selfie. I'll see you in 6 months or 6 weeks or whatever. And I think that whole trend was really, I think when you just say you're not doing something, it's a lot easier to just not do it, right? If people are giving up something for whatever reason, it's easier because it's just like not a part of your life anymore. You're not like trying to moderate it. It's just gone, which I think is the easiest way to go about it. Yeah. So I love that for you over the weekends.
Well, because I want to spend, like Joey's off on the weekends. I want it to be family time, you know? And I want Leela to not see us on our phones. I try to be conscious about that, but you know, obviously sometimes she sees me on my phone because I'm filming our life. Yeah, I just like want her to not expect that every day, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I think another one of my, what's the right word? Boundaries that I'm trying to put in place is like setting aside time, holding it in my calendar every afternoon from like 3 to 5 or 2 to 5 just to create content. I'm not spending the whole day stressed scrolling Instagram or whatever, procrastinating creating the content that I need to do. It's like, no, I have time set aside to do it, so I don't need to be on social media the other parts of my day. I could be diligent in other things because I know that this is the time I've set aside to get tomorrow's content ready, you know? And that way all of that stuff is like scheduled for the following day.
Right. I like when I edit something and it's done, I'm like not patient enough to wait another day. I'm posting in real time.
Yeah.
Like it's going up, you know? I'm different in that sense.
I think that's also representative of like the type of content we do is different. I try to batch a ton of content when I can to like spread it out over like a week or whatever, because I know I'm traveling, or like for some of the clients that I do social media for, they want these kind of topics to be hit these different days, you know? It's because I think a lot of the stuff we do is less in real time until this month when it's like, okay, you're on this college campus, post about being on this college campus.
Right.
Yeah.
A lot of people on TikTok lately have been asking me for nighttime routines, which I don't do nighttime routines. So like you were saying, you have time set aside each day. For me, I do morning routines, and that's mainly because I get up before Leela wakes up. And so I can film, I can do all that stuff and feel kind of guilt-free without her watching me film myself, you know, and watching me be on my phone. So I like always do morning routines because that's just worked with our schedule. Yeah. And a lot of people have been asking for nighttime routines and asking why I don't do them. And it's just, I want that family time too. I almost feel like as soon as Joey's off work, I want to be done too, you know? Totally. So that's another way that I like trying to find balance. Although if people want to see that, like I also want to give them what they're seeing. So like wanting to see, you know, I might do 1 or 2 here and there, but that's like why I don't do them.
Yeah. And I think the other thing too is like, especially when you have an audience that's like looking for things, you obviously want to like cater to what people are looking for, but you also don't owe anyone an explanation of why you aren't responding to every comment. Like I love the comments you get. I know like your sisters and I like all giggle when we see like, you're leaving your baby at home. Yeah. And it's, no, baby has a dad. Dad works from home. Yeah. Like baby's good. But it's like,
I get that comment like multiple times a day.
Yeah. Every time you leave for CrossFit or anything, it's like so funny.
Which we could go down a whole nother chain of how funny that is. That people just assume that if a mom's leaving the house that she's just, I don't know. Yeah. We probably could talk more about like being authentic on social media, you know, itself.
Well, and I think it's so hard when social media is a public platform. You're not trying to air out all your dirty laundry. Right. Like everyone knows no one's life is perfect, but obviously it's so much harder to remember that when it's like the only things we post on social media are the best things of our life. One, because we feel comfortable sharing those with the world, right? Like maybe we don't, a crazy breakup or like getting sick or my place flooded last month. It's like you don't need to put all that stuff on the internet, but how do you balance your real life with the things you feel comfortable putting on the internet?
Right. And it's hard to balance that in terms of being real or like if people don't see you posting, but you're like going through stuff, you know? Yeah, that is really hard. But I also think in real life, outside of social media, if you're like going through really hard stuff, you really can't give advice on things until you're through it, until you've learned the lesson, right?
I love that. Someone told me that advice. Actually, I think maybe you told me this advice.
Did I? I don't know.
Right after my breakup, like a couple years ago, it was like, you can't talk about things or you can't share the lessons you've learned from things. And it isn't even like...
Or even how you're feeling. Like, you're still trying to figure it out.
And it's like not even fair to yourself to put those thoughts together if you like aren't through it yet. Yeah. It's like give yourself time and grace and space to like, grieve, process, work through. And then like when you've gotten to a spot when you can look back and be like, wow, what I've been walked through and carried through are some really transferable lessons that I feel like other people can learn from.
Then it's easier to share on a platform.
Share on a platform, write the book, get on a podcast, whatever. Like, do whatever you feel called to.
I think when you share something on social media too, people take it with like Sharpie. Like there's no erasing it. This is how this person feels for the remainder of their life, right? But as everybody in this world is literally writing in pencil, like I change my mind all the time. And so I think that's why it's hard to share authentically online because people hold you to what you say that day for infinity. Whereas if you're going through a breakup or you're changing jobs or you're switching careers, it's like hard to talk about it because you might change your mind. You might regret leaving that job and wanting to go back, and people are gonna be like, wait a minute, you know.
Or even back to old relationships or
so it's easier to not talk about it when you're going through it because you want to talk about it when you're on the other side.
Yeah, you know? Totally. And I think it's just like grace with others that like people are allowed to change their mind, you know, just like we change our minds.
For sure. But I feel like on social media sometimes people don't give that grace.
No, and I think
that's why it's harder to be authentic, but you want to be authentic, you know.
Totally. Yeah. What about you? How do you balance like being authentic on social media?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is my house, because I do a lot of cleaning videos, and I really do film those videos during nap time, right? Because Leela's asleep and I don't need her like watching me, but a lot of people are seeing my house dirty, right? Seeing my house as it is. It's not always clean. And even with those cleaning videos, that doesn't happen every single day. But like, I'm also kind of now known for cleaning videos. And as you know, being my friend, sometimes you come over and my house is chaos. So like, I've been trying to more so show that chaos in my videos and not like tidy up. More so lately, I've just been pulling out the camera and filming. And like a lot more on YouTube, because I've been filming vlogs on YouTube, whereas you're seeing a lot more of my life on YouTube than as if you're watching like a 1-minute video vlog on TikTok. So it's like harder to show that. But rather than tidying up, which I know a lot of us do, before we pull out the camera, I've just been filming, you know, and people are seeing the dirty dishes in my sink or whatever it is.
Yeah, totally. Which I think is hard to do because you want to like hide your dirty laundry.
Yeah.
Figuratively and literally, right? Yes. You're like, I don't need you to see like all of this, and like because I want to present myself to you as an idealistic version of myself. It's okay to like have high expectations of yourself, but it's also important to like, create relatability. That's even though that's like where you want to be. If it's having a clean house or something deeper, right?
Right. There's definitely like, something deeper.
There's like more to it. Yeah,
for sure. And being authentic online, like I don't really openly talk about my breakup. I also don't hide it. Like I don't hide that I was married before. You know what I mean? Like I also want to be open about that too on a more deeper level. Yeah. For people who are going through breakups and think there's no other side of it, you know? There is. Like I also try to be more open on social media about that as well.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited for the podcast for that because I think when you're listening to a podcast, like as like consumer, right?
Yeah,
like when you're on the other side, like I think about the people I listen to on podcasts, it takes so much more work than following them on Instagram to like actually like listen to a podcast episode. Yeah. You're not just like liking a moment of their lives. And it's almost safer, right? To like share some of those things in a podcast episode with this group of people who are more invested to like learn from and grow with you. I don't think like anything that we share on here is, we've learned everything about social media boundaries. It's like we are like
we're writing in pencil.
Right.
Yeah. We might erase it later.
Yeah.
We might change our mind later or something.
Absolutely. Yeah. Anyways.
Moving past being authentic, I was just going to talk about more of like the trending side of social media. Things that are trending on social media or things that work on social media, as I found lately is I've just been doing a lot more series or day in the lives or vlogs. And I actually love this like era of social media that's like more day-to-day life, not like these travel bloggers or vloggers that are doing things that are unattainable, people don't have money for. I love this like era of just come get a coffee with me, clean my house with me, go to the pool with me. I love the more relatable content. I don't know.
Yeah, and that's so good because I think sometimes for people who aren't content creators, they're just people. Sometimes I don't think we believe our lives are good enough, exciting enough to like share or talk about, when it's like, no, that cool drink that you got at Starbucks on your lunch break is cool and you should talk about it, right? Like,
and I want to try it now.
Yeah. Like, and I think our lives are much more exciting than we give them credit for because we're always aspirationally comparing ourselves to someone who's in Italy for 3 months, right? and so I love what you just said about that, because when influencers with platforms use their, I don't know, influence to share day in the life things, it makes it more exciting for people who that is their life.
That,
you know?
like the mundane.
Or like what they can get on Amazon, or like, I love all of your dupes from like Lululemon, like off Amazon, right? Like making fun and exciting things just more accessible is such a cool way to use social media. Yeah,
for sure.
Leila's still asleep.
I honestly don't know how that happened. God is really on our side today.
I know. Anyways, well, should we just like end with a social media tip that we would encourage our listeners with?
Sure. you want me to go first?
Do you have one in mind?
Yeah. I mean, it's like definitely a cliche one, but
go for it.
I think in like ending this episode, we could talk about something that we would recommend. You do it. I'll share mine, but
as we wrap up, I'm curious to hear what a tip would be that you would give our listeners for like how to capitalize on social media in a way that's like less of a burden and like more life-giving to them.
Sure. So I've been doing TikTok now for about a year, which is kind of crazy that life can change so much in a year, which it should be very inspiring for people because you can start now and you can change everything in a matter of months. Like things can change within a day, which is crazy. I just had one post blow up and things changed for me. But the advice that I would say is consistency, which I know is like very cliche and everybody says consistency. Truly consistency. I've been posting every single day for the past year almost. I maybe missed like 1 or 2 days. And I feel like that's when I've seen like the most growth is consistency on posting, but also pick whatever works for you consistency wise, whether it be once a week, twice a week. I post once a day, but also consistency in terms of not necessarily niching down, but like staying true to your personal brand. If this isn't something, like I've had a recent brand deal come through that just was not me. It was not me at all. And I turned it down. You know, just like staying authentic to who you are and what actually works for you, you know?
Yeah, I love that. I think mine is like 2-part. And the first part is a little less, more like big picture. It's like you are more than what you post on social media.
I love
that. I think it's so hard for us to remember that when we are sometimes find ourselves like living these experiences, these awesome experiences in our lives, just with the lens always of like, should I get a photo there? How could I make this into a TikTok? How can you just be present in that moment and like soak it up for what it is and let the photos that you take or the videos that you take be sufficient so that you can stay like in the moment and allow your life to be more than what you post on social media, and be content with knowing that not everyone is going to know every detail of your life. And that's a good thing.
Yeah, that's
a good thing. And I think I'm speaking from someone who needs to hear this. The things that I enjoy and love, that can be just for me. It can be just for me that I like love this view, this sunset, this trip. And if the likes or like engagement on those posts don't reflect that doesn't make it any less special to me. So that's one thing, is that you're more than what you post on social media. And then the second thing, I like what you said about consistency. Know your lane and own it. Know the things that you feel called or passionate about. You don't need to be everything to everyone. Like your social media platform doesn't need to be everything to everyone. So just run in the lane that you are passionate about. And I think you'll feel more fulfilled and less overwhelmed trying to like cater to the masses.
And real. Like you'll feel like yourself more. You won't feel like somebody else.
I love that. Well, make sure to stay tuned. Share this with a friend. And we'll see you next week for Call You in 5.
Yes. See you guys.